Hello, I'm Suzanne. I'm the Collections Manager for the Hangar Flight Museum, and in this video I'm going to show you how I process and catalog a donated photo album. This album contains photos taken by Flight Officer Robert Archie Wilkins during his service in World War II. Archie Wilkins was born January 2nd, 1922 in Edmonton, Alberta. He enlisted in the RCAF on June 4th, 1941 and trained in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Despite being described as a very low average pilot on his initial training report, Archie's ambition and work ethic allowed him to pass all his training by May 1942. In addition to the required training, Archie received his Observer's Badge, qualifying him as an Air Observer Navigator and an Astronomical Navigator. After training, Archie joined the No. 45 Atlantic Transport Group, 113 North Atlantic Wing, and served in the Caribbean and South America, stationed predominantly at the Air Force Base in Nassau, Bahamas. Sadly, Archie was reported missing while navigating a delivery flight to Belém, Brazil in 1944. What was believed to be the wreckage of the aircraft was later located about 100 miles from a map of Brazil, but because of the location of the crash site in a tidal swamp, it was impossible to send out a ground expedition. The bodies of Archie and the rest of the flight crew were never recovered. A chaplain was flown to the scene, though, and he read the committal service from the air while wreaths were dropped in memory of the men. And although there is no official grave for him, Archie's name is commemorated on memorials in both Canada and in the Bahamas. This photo album was donated to the museum by Archie's sister Lorraine in 1992. It contains photos of Archie and the men he served with, as well as the local people and sites he encountered during his service. During the 1970s and 1980s, Lorraine collected copies of her brother's service records and contacted archives overseas in search of more information about her brother's death. She compiled those documents along with official correspondence received by her parents at the time of Archie's death, and then made this photo album. This album has an incredible story, but as an artifact in and of itself, it must be taken care of in a certain way, which means that it needs to be completely taken apart. This style of photo album became popular in the late 1960s and is made from a thick paper stock coated with glue with a mylar plastic covering over each page. Thanks to the work of conservators, we now know that the glue used in these albums has a very high acidic content, which can cause material damage. The mylar then seals in any acidic fumes produced by the glue, causing the photos to decay. While these photos appear to be in relatively good condition now, if we leave them in the album, they will eventually deteriorate so badly that the images will no longer be visible. To save this artifact, it must be taken apart. First, the album's condition must be examined to determine the best way to remove the photos. If the album has experienced high temperatures or high humidity in its lifetime, there's a chance that the photos may have stuck to the mylar. So, very gently and very slowly, the plastic is investigated with a dull scalpel. The scalpel is very thin, so it can easily get between the layers, and since it's dull, there is a decreased risk of accidentally slicing through a photo. Thankfully, these photos are not stuck to the mylar and can be removed from the album pages without issue. Now that the photos have been removed, it's time to number, describe, and store them. The museum uses a standard numbering system which corresponds to the item's intake date. Each number is applied to the back of the photo in pencil, and as each photo is processed, a description is developed and added to that item's entry in the collections database. In order to store the photos properly, we use acid-free paper, folders, and boxes. The photos are stored not directly touching each other and are grouped together according to album page order. Each envelope is labeled with which photos are inside it and put into a folder, which is also labeled. That seems like a lot of steps, but we need to process each item we collect in such a way in order to preserve it for future generations. Organizing and documenting the photos to this extent also makes it possible for us to provide access to the photos more easily for future researchers. Thank you for joining me here in the Hangar Flight Museum's collections. See you next time.